CBQ stands for Christian Bible Quizzing.
CBQ is non-denominational. An individual organization can be from one church or it can be community-wide.
An organization can have many teams in it. A team can only have 1, 2, or 3 players in it.
Quizzers can be around 10-ish to 18 years old. 9-year-olds can also participate as long as they are mature enough to handle quizzing.
Any Bible translation, which is word for word or thought for thought, can be used.
Currently, there are quizzers who use NIV, ESV, NKJV, and KJV.
Quizzers can choose to do Club 100, Club 300, or full material. A quiz can be 2 or 3 teams playing each other.
Quizzes are roughly 15 to 20 minutes long.
Quizzes are customized to be at the level of material that you are scheduled to learn by then.
There are 4 types of questions: quotes, phrases, finishes, and chapter references.
A quote query is where the quiz magistrate gives the reference and the quizzer has to quote the entire verse.
Here's a quote query example. Hey teammate,
Hey, what?
quote Colossians 2:7.
Okay. Rooted and built up in Him and established in the faith as you have been taught, abounding in it with thanksgiving.
A finished query is when the quiz magistrate says the first 5 or more words of the verse, and the quizzer will have to quote the rest of the verse that has not been said by the quiz magistrate already.
This is a finished query example from the New King James. Hey teammate,
Hey what?
finish this verse. But the natural man
does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, because for they are foolishness to him, nor can he know them because they are spiritually discerned.
Good
A
job.
phrase query is where the quiz magistrate will say at least 7 words on the verse and the quizzer has to finish that sentence or finish the verse, whichever one's shorter.
This is a phrase query example from the New King James. Hey teammate,
Hey, what?
for until now.
For until now you were not able to receive it, but even now you are still not able.
Good job! That's correct.
A chapter reference is when the quiz magistrate says a chapter and a book and a prompt. The prompt will have 2 parts. The first part of the prompt is at least 3 words, and it is not found in the rest of the chapter, but it is found somewhere in the rest of the material. The second part of the prompt is at least 4 words long, and the quizzer will quote until the end of the verse or the sentence, whichever is shorter.
Hey teammate,
Hey, what?
this is a chapter reference query from the New King James Version from 1 Corinthians chapter 1. That as it is written,
It is written, he who glories, let him glory in the Lord.
good job, you got it teammate.
There are 2 ways to answer a query. Look at your material or don't.
When you look at the material, it's called open book. Sounds easy, right? The catch is you only get 1 point when you do open book with no additional points. And your team can only have 3 open books per quiz.
If you don't look at your material and get it correct, that's called synonymous and you get 2 points. What does synonymous mean? Synonymous allows the quizzers a lot of grace without changing the definition. If you don't stick to one version, or if little words are left out, or if a singular is made plural, or vice versa, it's okay. If the verse has a couple of concepts in it, and if they're in a different order, that's okay, as long as the whole concept is covered. Make sure that you don't substitute different persons of the Trinity.
There are also some ways to rack up more points. These all have to be declared before you start your verse. You can add a point by declaring with reference before you start your verse, or you can add another point by adding the verse right after the one you're quoting. You can get even more points by quoting verbatim. If you say verbatim before you say your verse, that will be 4 points. If you say verbatim and add a verse, that will be 2 points. This is an example of a finish query with reference and add a verse. Quentin, this is a finish from the New King James. But God has chosen.
Reference, add a verse. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to put to shame the wise, and God has chosen the weak things of the world to put to shame the things which are mighty. And the base things of the world and the things which are despised God has chosen, and the things which are not, to bring to nothing the things that are, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 27 and 28.
Good job!
This is an example of a VRA, which stands for verbatim, with reference, and adverse. This is a page from the New King James. For though I am...
That was me buzzing in. VRA. 1 Corinthians 9, 19, and 20. For though I am free from all men, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win them more. And to the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might win Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, that I might win those who are under the law. There's something called a ceiling for when quizzers get a certain amount of questions right, and they're not allowed to buzz in anymore during the quiz.
As soon as you answered 2 open books correctly, you hit your ceiling.
If one of your first 2 correct answers is open book, then your ceiling is now 3 queries. You get even more points! There are bonuses!
When you get 4 correct answers and hit your ceiling with no open book and none wrong, you get a 3-point bonus.
When the second quizzer on a team gets a question right, the team gets a 1-point bonus. And when the third quizzer on a team gets a question right, the team gets a 2-point bonus.
When 2 different quizzers on the same team get back-to-back queries correct, their team gets an additional 1-point bonus.
Each team gets 1 40-second timeout per quiz.
A quizzer or a coach can call a timeout in between queries.
Between any queries, a quizzer may ask the quiz magistrate for the current score.
Or to disclose the types of queries for the next 4 queries.
There's Ruja quiz meet once a month with other CBQ teams.
On the mornings of the quiz meets, there are 8 rounds of quizzing, which is followed by lunch, sometimes provided by the hosting church, then a double elimination round, and finals.
Rewards are given to the top 10 quizzers in the top 3 teams.
Quizzes are held in separate rooms, and on the morning of the tournament, you'll be given a schedule.
Teams are competitive but have great sportsmanship.
Let's begin our quiz. Query 1A for all 3 teams is a chapter reference from the ESV. Ready, begin. From 1 Corinthians chapter 3. For you are not... Wyatt.
For you were not
Time. Corinthians 3:2, I fed you with milk and not with solid food, for until now you were not able to receive it, and even now you are still not able.
So one of the complexities and benefits of CBQ is that teams can compete against each other even if they've memorized different translations. So in this case, Wyatt buzzed in on a translation that he had not memorized himself. So that made the query a little bit more challenging for him from the start because he was hearing it in the ESV, but he was going to be answering it in the New King James. Many times the quizzers are able to make that transitional switch in their mind, and it doesn't cause them to get it wrong. That may or may not have been an issue for him here, but that is something that gives it a little bit more complexity for the quizzers.
Query 1B for Team 1 and Team 2 is a chapter reference from the ESV. Ready, begin. From 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Are being saved. Tanner.
VOA. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. And it's located in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 18 and 19.
That is correct. Tanner received 7 points for a verbatim with reference at a verse.
Also, it's worth noting that because Wyatt had gotten the first query wrong, his entire team had to sit out the next query that was of the same type. It was still a chapter reference, and the remaining two teams had the opportunity to answer that. Now that that query has been correctly answered, we will move on to query 2.
Query 2A for all three teams is a quote. Ready, begin. Quote, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 26. Tanner.
VOA. How is it then, brethren, whenever you come together, each of you has a psalm, has a hymn, has a psalm, has a teaching, has a tongue, has a revelation, has an interpretation, that all things be done for edification. If anyone speaks in a tongue, let there be 2 or at the most 3, each in turn, and let one...
Time. I'm sorry, Tanner, you did not complete that before the time was up. That will be 0 points.
So now team 1 has to sit out on this next query. It's going to still be a quote, but teams 2 and team 3 will have the opportunity to answer correctly.
Query 2B for team 2 and team 3 is a quote. Ready, begin. Quote, 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12. Wyatt.
Second Corinthians 2:12. To the one we are the aroma of
Time. I'm sorry. Furthermore, when I came to Troas to preach Christ's gospel, and a door was opened to me by the Lord.
So team 1 and team 3 has gotten query 2 incorrect. So team 2 now has the opportunity. They are the only team that can answer right now. So they should just listen to the entire query. And even after the query is done being read, they get 7 seconds to buzz in before they would run out of time. And so they will utilize that time and hopefully get it correct.
Query 2C for team 2 is a quote. Ready, begin. Quote, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 25. Natalie.
Verbatim. And everyone who competes for the prize is temperate in all things, not to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown.
You are correct. Good job. Natalie got 5 points for her answer.
Now we move on to query 3, and so everything kind of resets. It's going to be a new query type. Congratulations, Natalie.
Query 3A for all three teams is a finish from the New King James. Ready, begin. Yet for us, Wyatt.
Verbatim. Yet for us there is one God the Father, of whom are all things, and we for him, and one Lord Jesus Christ, through whom are all things, and through whom we live.
That is correct. Good job. Wyatt got 4 points. Query 4A for all three teams is a phrase from the ESV. Ready, begin. That this right, Tanner.
Verbatim. This right over you. But do all things thus be to the gospel of Christ.
Time. I'm sorry. This right in the ESV becomes this liberty in the New King James. So we are looking for 1 Corinthians 8:9, but beware lest somehow this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to those who are weak.
So that last query was a phrase, and if you have a phrase query, you can go into your memory bank and try to think of any verse that you maybe have memorized that might include that phrase that you've heard, which, depending on how soon you buzzed in, it could include more than one verse. And so the quizzers are free to rotate through as many verses as they can within their time frame of 40 seconds to try to get it right. And they won't be wrong, even if they don't pick the correct verse the first time or the second time or the third time. They can use their full 40 seconds to try to figure out which verse that phrase is from. So a phrase is the widest type of query type that you cannot get out of context because it's so broad.
Query 4B for Team 2 and Team 3 is a phrase from the ESV. Ready, begin. Desire, Wyatt.
Earnestly desire spiritual gifts and do not forbid to prophesy. I sit.
Really close. You had it mixed up a little bit. Maybe you were thinking of a different verse. I am looking for 1 Corinthians 14:39. Therefore, brethren, desire earnestly to prophesy and do not forbid to speak with tongues.
And Wyatt has a full 40 seconds that he can allot himself before he's counted wrong, but in this case he determined he's not pulling up the answer, and so they can, before their 40 seconds is done, just voluntarily sit down or say that they forfeit, and that just moves the quiz along faster.
Query 4C for Team 2 is a phrase from the ESV. Ready, begin. Received. Tanner, you can't.
This is only for Team 2.
Okay,
Okay, so on the computer here, it gives some prompts that's helpful for the person running the quiz, and Team 1 and Team 3 have both gotten a query 4 wrong, and so they are grayed out. She would not be able to click on Tanner's name, so that gives her the clear indicator that he was in error in doing that. So that mistake happens, that's fine, we'll just move forward. She'll replace the query and we'll move forward, and only Team 2 gets the opportunity to answer this C query for question 4.
Query 4C for Team 2 is a phrase from the ESV. Ready, begin. Then, and so eat of the bread. Quentin.
Verbatim, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup.
You are correct. Quentin gets 4 points plus a team bonus, so a total of 5 points. The current score in second place is Team 1 with 7 points. In first place, Team 2 with 10 points. And third place, Team 3 with 4 points. Query 5A for all 3 teams is a quote. Ready, begin. Quote, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2. Julie Ann.
Verbatim. For I fed you with milk and not with solid food, for until now you are not able to receive it, and you are still not able. For I fed you with milk and not with solid food.
I'm sorry, Julianne, you are more than 5 verses out of context. You are quoting 1 Corinthians 3:2. My query is asking for 1 Corinthians 2:2. For I determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. Good buzz, Julianne.
So that query was a quote, and unlike phrases where you get your full 40 seconds regardless to try to find the correct answer, a quote query is on the opposite end of the spectrum, and it is one of the most specific, meaning if you don't quote the verse being asked, then you will get it wrong. So you are out of context as soon as you say a number of words of that verse that are not within the requested verse. So that is the most strict in that regard.
Query 5B for Team 1 and Team 2 is a quote. Ready, begin. Quote, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 20. Tanner.
Verbatim adverse. Let each one remain in the same calling in which he was called. Were you called while a slave? Do not be concerned about it, but if you can be made free, rather use it.
Correct. Good job. Tanner received 7 points. Query 6A for all 3 teams is a chapter reference from the New King James. Ready, begin. From 2 Corinthians chapter 8. For your sakes he became poor that... Melody.
Verbatim, that you, through his poverty, might become rich.
Correct. Good job, Melody. Now, Melody has received 6 points.
So the 4 points that she got was because she answered it verbatim, word for word. And then she got an additional bonus point because her own teammate Tanner got the previous query correct, which gives a follow-on bonus. So anytime that a team member follows correctly with their answer, one of their other team members, back to back, they get an additional bonus point, and it's called a follow-on bonus. In addition to that, she was the first person on her team besides Tanner to answer correctly, so she gets a team bonus. So sometimes those could happen on the same query, or sometimes those might happen at different times. But she got the verbatim, plus a follow-on bonus, plus a team bonus, which gave her a total of 6 points.
Query 7A for all 3 teams is a finish from the ESV. Ready, begin. What I mean, Julianne.
Open book? Now I say this, that each of you says, I am of Paul, or I am of Apollos, or I am of Cephas, or I am of Christ.
Correct. Good job, Julianne. Okay, Julianne, you got 1 point plus 1 more point, which is a total of 2 points. Good job.
So the first point was for the open book that she got correct, and then the second additional point she got was because Wyatt, who was also on her team, previously got one correct, so now she got a team bonus for being the second person on her team to get an answer correct.
Query 8A for all 3 teams is a phrase from the New King James. Ready, begin. Of Christ, Tanner.
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of Christ to filter through. So the remainder of the prompt, of Christ among those who are being, the answer is saved, and among those who are perishing.
Good try.
Query 8B for Team 2 and Team 3 is a phrase from the New King James. Ready, begin. Us afar, Wyatt.
Verbatim, us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory.
That's correct. Good job. Wyatt got 5 points. He got a verbatim and a follow-along. Good job, Wyatt. Current score is Team 1 in first place with 20 points, Team 3 in second place with 11 points, and Team 2 in third place with 10 points. Yes, Kaylin.
What are the next 3 query types?
We have a chapter reference, a finish, and a quote. Query 9A for all three teams is a chapter reference from the ESV. Ready, begin. From 2 Corinthians chapter 10. It is not the one who commends. Kaylin.
It is not the one who commends himself, but whom the Lord commends. It is not the one who commends himself, but he who the Lord commends. Is approved? No. He's not the one who commends himself, but he who the Lord commends.
Time.
Is approved? Is that what I'm missing?
Okay, so in the ESV, it is not the one who commends. In the New King James, for not he who commends himself.
Is approved, but he who the Lord commends.
Yeah, sorry. Good try. Query 9B for Team 1 and Team 2 is a chapter reference from the ESV. Ready, begin. From 2 Corinthians chapter 7. Since we have these promises, Cameron.
Verbatim. Since we have these promises in earthen vessels, but sincerity, but as of sincerity, but as from God, we speak in the sight of God and Christ, of God and men. We speak in the sight of God and speak in the sight of men in Christ. We speak in sight of God and Christ.
I'm pretty sure you're out of context here. Time. Okay. I was looking for 2 Corinthians 7:1. Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God.
So in that query type, it's a chapter reference. So where we've got a phrase where you can't be out of context at all, and it's very open. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have a quote that can only be out of that specific verse. A chapter reference is kind of somewhere in the middle. It's it's a phrase basically, and the quizzer is being told what chapter that phrase is coming from. So they know in their mind they can narrow it down to that chapter. But if they don't narrow it down close enough, they can still get it wrong for being out of context. So that verse was coming from verse 1 in chapter 7, but he was giving some words from chapter 7, but it was more than 5 verses away from verse 1, and so that was officially making him out of context. And there is a place in the software where the quizmaster can type in some of the words that he is saying, and it will pull up any verses in the material that contain those verses, and that can give the quizmaster more confidence of, are they 5 verses away? Are they truly out of context? And once they know that, then they might just say incorrect at that point, even if he hasn't received his full 40 seconds.
Query 9C for Team 1 is a chapter reference from the ESV. Ready, begin. From 1 Corinthians chapter 2. He is not able to understand them. Kirsten.
Because they are spiritually discerned.
Correct.
Good practice.
Good job, Kirsten.
In that situation, Kirsten got 2 points for giving the synonymous answer, and then she got an additional 2 points because of a team bonus. She wasn't just the first person on her team to answer correctly, which wouldn't get any bonus points. She wasn't the second person, which would give her 1 bonus point. She was the third person on her team to correctly buzz in, and so that gives a higher bonus point for the team of 2 points. So at this point, every person on her team has correctly answered, so they maxed out their team bonus potential in that. Now, if in this next query, someone from team 1 were to buzz in again and get it correctly, they would get an additional follow-on bonus, but only if they got it correct only if they were the next one to answer correctly.
Query 10A for all 3 teams is a finish from the New King James. Ready, begin. For as the suffering, Wyatt,
For as the sufferings of Christ abound in us, so our consolation abounds in us, so our consolation comes from God. As the sufferings of Christ abound in us, so do the consolations.
I'm sorry, Wyatt, that is incorrect. You were very close. It was almost synonymous, but there were a few words that made it unable to be a synonymous answer.
Specifically, one word was, you said God, but the word we were looking for was Christ. And so you have to keep the members of the Trinity of the Godhead, you have to use a correct substitution as opposed to changing it in order to be corrected, to be counted correctly for synonymous.
Query 10B for Team 1 and Team 2 is a finish from the New King James. Ready, begin. In a moment, Tanner.
VRA, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised, incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. And it's located in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 52 and 53.
Correct, excellent job. That is a total of 8 points.
7 points were because of his VRA, and then, actually, VRA meaning it was verbatim with reference, and he added a verse. And then he also got a point because his team member was the last one to get one correct, so he got a follow-on bonus in addition to that.
Query 11A for all 3 teams is a quote. Ready, begin. Quote, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10. Tanner.
Verbatim adverse. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive the things done in the body according to what he has done, whether good or bad. Knowing therefore the terror of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are well known to the Lord. We are well known to God, and I trust are also well known in your consciences. But we are well known to the Lord, we are well known to God, and I also trust.
You are correct. Yeah, you switched also and trust, but then when you restated it, you had them in the correct order, which makes that a verbatim answer. You received 7 points. You have reached your ceiling, Tanner. Congratulations. You may put down your buzzer.
Timeout.
Okay, we have a timeout for Team 3. You have 40 seconds. Begin.
During the course of a quiz, each team has the opportunity to call one timeout at any point in between queries. That timeout can be called by a quizzer or their coach. When that timeout is called, they have 40 seconds, and then every team is able to participate in the timeout with their coach. They can discuss strategy, they can review what the score is, and decide what are the upcoming queries, because that might help them determine which team member might be the most likely to be able to answer that query correct. So usually at the time of strategy, often it might come at a point where there's a few different ways the quiz could go, and so they want to strategize that.
And time in.
Don't forget to press the button.
Query 12A for all 3 teams is a phrase from the ESV. Ready, begin. Things are helpful. All things are lawful, but... Julianne.
Verbatim. And all things edify. All things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me,
but I will not be brought under the power of any. All things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify.
Correct.
Good job.
Good job. Okay, the quiz is complete. The final score in first place is Team 1 with 39 points. In second place, Team 3 with 15 points. In third place, Team 2 with 10 points.
You might be wondering, what does a Bible quiz look like?
Line.